Good morning, everybody. Good morning if you are in the UK, and good evening if you are joining us from Hong Kong. We welcome you today on this very exciting webinar, which is about relocation for British national overseas from Hong Kong to the UK. And behind the scenes today, if we could move on to the next slide, please. We have myself, I'm Carolyn Blackshaw, the Director of Marketing, Wiley Wright, who's helping with the StreamYard management, along with Lee Bai, assisting him, and he's also our Director of the Summer School, and Trevor Wong, who's the Marketing Executive for Hong Kong. Moving on, please. So, our panellists today will have Sabrina. Sabrina is a mum of two. She's an entrepreneur, a marketeer, and she herself has experienced moving from Hong Kong and now lives in London. Moving on, please. We also have Andrew Marshall. He is a leading estate agent with McCallum Marsh. He is speaking from the heartland of Leicestershire, and he has a wealth of experience of not only London and city properties, but also country properties. Next person, please. Giles. Giles is our leader, an inspirational entrepreneur at Brooke House. His family set up Brooke House 53 years ago, and he's the founder member of Brooke House Football Academy. Thank you. And we have Jo York. Jo is from Stamford, Stamford Schools, and she has a wealth of experience of working with independent schools and matching families to the right school and their children, of course. Moving on. John. Hi, John. John is with us this morning. He's speaking from Leicester. He not only has taught abroad, but he's taught at several independent schools and held senior positions, and is now the headmaster of Stonygate School, and he will tell you about his primary and prep school. No Man is speaking to us from London this morning. He's our financial expert, and he will be able to talk to you about mortgages and working in the international sector and assisting people with international mortgages. And then finally, well, not really finally, but we've got Tej and Eliza. They are both lawyers, and they specialise in immigration law, and they have a wealth of experience, and they have many international clients. So moving on. I would now like to introduce Sabrina. Sabrina will speak to you in Cantonese, first of all. She will talk to you about her personal experience. And over to Sabrina. Thank you. Can we have Sabrina?
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Sabrina. Hi, thank you very much from Bloodhouse College for inviting me to be the guest speaker today. And I'm very honored to be the only Hong Kong speakers here. I'm going to conduct the following presentation in Cantonese. 希望大家會有多一啲嘅親切感啦。Okay, next slide, please. 咁我叫 Sabrina 啦，喺1年之前咧，我就同我先生同埋2個小朋友咧就移居咗英國啦。Next slide, please. 咁我哋一家就嚟咗英國咧，就大概1年時間啦。我哋咧就選擇咗咧喺英國嘅倫敦西南邊嘅一個地方去到 settle down 嘅。Can we move on to the next slide, please? 係啦，咁我繼續講住先啦。咁我本身咧嚟嘅時候咧就未有 BNO visa 啦，咁所以咧我就用一個企業家簽證嘅一個嘅渠道過嚟英國啦。 咁所以咧，我過嚟咧唔單止任務係要 settle down 小朋友，仲要係開分公司。本身咧，我喺英國咧我喺香港就係做公關宣傳推廣嘅工作。咁喺英國好自然地就係開分公司都係從事翻相關嘅業務啦。所以咧，其實大家會即係有時會可能都會認識到我啦，就係即係我除咗係我公司即係DDUK 同 DDHK 嘅即係 director 之外啦，我亦都有喺好多唔同嘅傳媒嘅 platform 嗰度咧，我都有寫文嘅。如果大家都有留意嘅話咧，我都有一個 Facebook page 叫做香港人在英國新生活嘅。如果大家咧都可以上去個 page 嗰度，可以攞下一啲英國嘅生活嘅實用資訊嘅。Next slide please。我諗個 Facebook 嘅 page 雖然好長啦，個名香港人就應該新生活咁，但係都好好容易咁樣俾大家去到明白咗，其實好多即係對於BNO 嚟緊會即係申請 BNO visas 過嚟英國嘅香港人嚟講，其實佢哋嚟到英國都真係有一啲好多嘅唔同嘅嶄新嘅一啲嘅體驗。咁今日主要都係想分享翻自己過去一年嘅喺生活啦，同埋小朋友讀書方面嘅一啲領會嘅。Next slide please。係啦，咁我自己覺得咧，我自己就揀咗喺英國倫敦嘅松息嘅一個地方去到 settle down 啦。我覺得每個人都唔同嘅，每個人揀嗰個地方嘅時候咧，其實都會有佢哋自己嘅考量咯。好多人或者好多香港人啊，可能好似我咁樣咧，其實咧我哋最初頭對英國嘅印象咧，除咗得倫敦或者而家嘅 Manchester 啊、Birmingham 之外，其實就冇其他噶啦。咁嗰陣時，可能我哋就更加即係我哋對英國嗰個嘅認識更加少。咁所以我就揀咗即係英國倫敦嘅松息一個地方 settle down。咁主力都係因為即係我頭先都講啊，我因為要開公司啦，咁所以都唔想遠離倫敦太遠，但係同埋加上自己未有車牌啦，但係又真係即係移居咗一年之後，其實我呢一年都冇喺倫敦度開過會嘅，咁好多時候都係Zoom meeting 啊咁樣啦，同埋大部分嘅客其實佢哋都唔係嚟自倫敦嘅，所以大家即係考慮嗰個落腳點嘅時候，究竟係咪真係要黐住倫敦咁近咧？有啲乜嘢嘅因素會影響大家嘅決定咧？一陣間我哋可以講多啲。咁講下生活上有啲乜嘢好嘅轉變啦。當然環境大咗，小朋友多啲地方走動啦，多啲嘅活動空間，呢啲 definitely 係一啲好好嘅一啲因素啦。咁即係我唔知道大家以前喺香港有冇踩單車嘅經驗？即係我哋喺香港度可能喺個公園度踩單車都會俾人哋叫停嘅。咁但係呢度就周圍都可以踩單車啦，好多綠化嘅草地啊，亦都小朋友可以做佢哋中意嘅釣下魚啊、picnic 啊咁樣樣，亦都多咗親子時間。因為事實上呢度嘅學校嘅功課壓力真係冇香港咁大嘅。Next slide please。咁有好處，咁你問我係咪真係揀呢一個地方係完全乜嘢嘅即係challenge 都冇嘅？其實唔係嘅。我呢個表都係喺一啲嘅地產網站嗰度揾。學校嘅 catchment area 係同樓市嘅樓價係成正比嘅。我嘅小朋友兩個都好細，佢哋讀緊小學，一個 Year One，一個 Year Three，佢哋都係揀公立學校嘅。嗰陣時我哋即係我諗我哋好多時候我哋啱啱初嚟報到啦，叫做我哋會第一時間就會諗我哋就揾幫小朋友揾一間 outstanding 嘅公立學校讀書。我都係咁嘅心態嘅嗰陣時候。咁一陣間亦都可以分享多少少，即係而家真係入咗嗰間公立學校啦。咁究竟點樣樣咧？個適應上係點樣樣？咁但係你會睇到嘅，其實你住嗰個地方，如果越近一啲好嘅公立學校咧，其實佢嘅樓價越貴啦。而 which is 咧，其實倫敦你會見到，其實我諗 as expected 都係最貴嘅地方嚟嘅咁樣樣。咁所以大家要諗嘅時候就要考慮，唔係淨係考慮短期內究竟你鍾唔鍾意嗰個地方，即係長遠嘅嗰個地方喺生活指數各方面或者其實同埋係咪真係切合到你嘅需要？你哋係咪真係需要咁近倫敦去到返工咧？咁呢樣嘢都係值得大家去考量嘅。Next slide please。咁除咗即係樓價之外啦，咁我諗喺我哋好多時候香港人嚟英國咧，我哋都會係插班生嚟嘅。咁插班嘅位咧，其實係真係好緊絕嘅。咁一陣間即係可能大家都會睇到，我初頭嚟嘅時候，我舊年嚟嘅時候咧，其實我個女咧排嗰個學校咧係排到40幾啊。Maybe next slide please。咁即係好似係冇乜機會可以入到咁樣樣啦。所以 呢一啲都係一啲好大嘅，即係大家要考慮嘅嘢，即係唔係話插班真係咁容易入到一啲好嘅學校，但係亦都 having said that，即係其實英國嘅學校係有好多嘅，尤其是小學，我其實真係好覺得即係小學都係有好多好嘅選擇咁樣樣。Move on please。咁另外就係但係反而就係擔心中學咯。譬如好似我而家小朋友，佢哋可能仲細，佢哋仲讀緊小學，但係我就已經即係會諗啊，咁但係中學咧，譬如好似喺我個區嗰度，大家會睇到即係原來。嗰區裏邊即係一啲嘅公立嘅中學，其實唔係好多選擇，而 which is 佢個 catchment area 係好細嘅，係講緊咧，即係喺學校嘅官網嗰度，你會見到啊，原來係得0.9個 km，咁 which is 你要 translate 翻做翻個 miles， 因為咧就得0.5，因為大家要睇翻，如果你哋喺 Rightmove 嗰度揾樓嘅時候，你哋會有嗰啲附近學校咧，你哋要睇得好清楚 miles 同 km， 即係冇搞錯，咁咪真係。如果一啲好嘅學校，其實佢哋真係講緊個 catchment area 係只會越嚟越細咯。Next slide please。咁呢啲都係一啲challenge 啦。咁同埋即係頭先都再講翻啦，即係間學校又已經個 catchment area 咁細，而 which is 個樓價你見到啦，即係我就咁 pop up 上去睇嘅，即係1房至3房嘅樓價都係好金嘅咁樣。咁所以呢啲都會係即係大家要考慮嗰間即係要喺邊度落腳嘅時候，都係一啲好重要嘅考慮咯。Next slide please。咁所以即係我自己覺得咧，自己個小朋友亦都讀緊公立學校啦，呢個小學其實都讀得好開心嘅，真係冇乜功課壓力啦咁樣。咁但係大家都要考慮一樣嘢，就係公校同私校嘅資源。一定係唔同嘅，尤其是我啱啱做完home learning 之後，我會更加覺得公校嗰個嘅師生比例太高咧，係會真係令到個小朋友，尤其是我哋即係啲小朋友，佢哋未必係用英文作為 first language 嘅時候咧，係難啲去到 pick up 嘅，即係因為佢平時返學，我唔知道究竟佢嘅情況，但係而家即係 covid 跟住要 home learning 之後，我更加知道。咁再加上就喺個資源分配方面，即係我完全即係好明白公校喺即係 Covid 底下，佢哋真係成日都要籌款嘅，我都好樂於支持。但係大家都要明白呢一樣嘢，就係喺呢一個情況之下，學校嗰個資源係真係會受到一啲影響嘅。Next slide please。咁所以即係大家要考慮一個落腳點嘅時候，即係究竟即係有好多唔同嘅因素，即係呢度我擺咗一啲大家去考慮嘅，即係你哋有冇親朋戚友，你哋想住佢近啲啦？你哋自己究竟嗰個嘅 budget 係幾多 ？budget 唔係淨係講話啊，我夠唔夠嚟1年2年嘅使費，係真係 in the long run，究竟你哋覺得喺嗰個地方裏邊，究竟嗰個嘅即係嗰個嘅物價指數係咪真係負擔啊？咁負擔得到啊？城市同 suburb 啦，即係好多時候其實我哋要習慣一個1小時生活圈，一陣間可以講多少少，係咪真係即係需要揾工，定係其實我唔需要我係可能真係未必需要咁急切揾工住㗎，或者我份工其實唔需要一定咁近倫敦啊。另外就係 grammar school 啦，咁啊好多人即係香港嘅 family 都好趨之若鶩 grammar school。咁 grammar school 未必個個都啱嘅，即係譬如我咁，我就未必會揀 grammar school。但係有一啲好想入 grammar school，你要睇下就係即係雖然佢哋個 catchment area 會大啲，但係都你冇理由即係你諗住入 Kent 嘅一間 grammar school，然之後你去咗即係London 度落腳噶嘛。Next slide please。咁所以最嬲尾啦，就即係我自己嘅一個經驗就係，我覺得大家要習慣呢一個1小時嘅生活圈，就係英國好大，好多度地方都有好嘅學校同埋好好嘅生活環境。要習慣就係30至1個鐘頭嘅即係 commute time， 其實係一個已經好理想嘅，即係你可以附近可以有 airport 啊，或者有 city centre， 其實已經係好理想。咁我即係起碼嗰度地方又會即係多啲嘅平啲嘅屋選擇，亦都環境清幽啲，亦都學校方面亦都冇咁多 oversubscribed 嘅一個學校咯。Next slide。咁所以最撚尾即係我都好希望大家可以揾到你哋喺英國嘅第2個嘅 home street home。So I will now pass you over to Mr. Andrew Marsh, Director and Partner at McCallum Marsh Estate Agents. Thank you.
Thank you, Sabrina. Hi, everybody. And thank you to Brooke House also for asking me to tell you a little bit about the local area here in the East Midlands. and especially Leicestershire, Rutland, and more specifically Market Harborough, the town itself where Brooke House is based. Could we go to the next slide, please? Okay, there might be a little bit of a delay. There we go. And next slide again, please. Really, I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about my own personal experience firstly. My first half of my career was focused on the central and southwest London property markets, but about 12 years ago, I moved my own family to the market town of Market Harborough here in Leicestershire. And since then, over those 12 years, we've seen the world quite in flux for multiple reasons, no more so than right now. But the East Midlands housing market has really gone from strength to strength in that time. Next slide, please. Specifically, I wanted to talk about the key area benefits, and really one of the keys to our part of the world is the transport links and our proximity to the capital. We have a fantastic direct train line from Market Harborough station itself, which takes you into London St Pancras in less than an hour, 55 minutes, the fastest train, which is incredible. So I'll get on in a little while to talking about the key benefits of being in the countryside in a lovely area like this, and yet all just under 1 hour from the capital. We've also got a fantastic road network where we're central, as the name would suggest. We're in central England here, and we've got a fantastic road network which gets us again back to London, but then through to other key cities like Birmingham and beyond. And finally, airports. We've got a fantastic ability to get abroad here with 2 airports, again, less than an hour away in Birmingham and the East Midlands, while all the key airports, Heathrow, Gatwick, etc., Luton, are also accessible. Next slide, please. The next thing I wanted to talk about was really the key area benefits here. We're blessed. We've got a large number of market towns, all accessible. As I say, we're in Market Harborough here, but we've also got so many other historic market towns available to us very easily and quickly on the road network. Brooke House is situated itself, as I mentioned, in Market Harborough. We're a medieval market town with history that dates back to the Saxon times. We've got a fantastic, beautiful, wide Georgian high street with extensive facilities, lots of boutique shops, restaurants, bars, supermarkets, and then more specific to the area, and of course being in the countryside, we've got some lovely farm shops which absolutely just give us a very different feel and flavour to the larger cities. Next slide, please. In terms of the locality, I twin that together with the schooling options. We've got fantastic market towns, as I mentioned previously, and all of those towns have fantastic schools. We've got Uppingham, Oakham, Stamford, Endowed, and of course Leicester City itself is close by, again with some fantastic schools. And of course you can't talk about Leicester without mentioning in recent years its incredible triumph for its football team by, against all the odds, winning the English Premier League, of course, in the 15-16 season. I know, Giles, that one's for you. Next slide, please. So, of course, being in an area like this, we've got fantastic countryside, and the benefits of that countryside living are extensive. To name just a few, we've got fantastic scenic walks in abundance living in this part of the world. We've got Kelmarsh Hall Estate, and that's only one of a number of these type of places that you can visit, with 3,000 acres of parkland and gardens that are open to public all year round. Sports, of course, are plentiful. We've got golf courses, lots of horse pursuits, cycling clubs, rugby, football, cricket, and very local again to us here. We're very lucky to have 3 fantastic reservoirs. Ibrook Reservoir, perfect for fishing, bird watching. Rutland Water, Pittsford Reservoir, fantastic for all sorts of outdoor pursuits, sailing and fishing, and around those reservoirs, cycling, climbing, etc. So it really is a fantastic area with lots of activities, very easily accessible. Next slide, please. So now getting on to the housing market itself, really a key announcement last week by Rightmove, obviously the key property portal. They announced that spring 2021 was the strongest property market for home sellers in 10 years. And we're certainly seeing that on the ground here. On the next slide, you're going to see a map just showing you sort of where we are in the country. And actually, it doesn't give you all the individual house price indexes as referred to on this slide you're looking to now. But I can tell you that the East Midlands has seen price increases, only second to Wales and the Northwest in terms of throughout the whole of the UK in recent times. We've been outperforming London and the traditionally much stronger markets of the home counties further south. Next slide, please. So there's the map. It shows you where we are in Market Harborough, highlighted in red, and very close by, as I've noted. You know, you've got towns like Oakham, Stamford, Leicester. Next slide, please. So housing stock, what can you buy in this neck of the woods? We've got everything. So there are modern apartments, Victorian houses, modern detached houses, larger bespoke detached houses, and very unique properties as well. So we've got everything ranging from modern apartments, as you can see from the slide here, 800 to 1200 square feet, terrace houses a little bit bigger, modern detached houses on very family friendly estates in the town and on the outskirts of the town itself, 1500 to 2500 square feet. And then, as I say, individual and more bespoke detached houses, even larger. And finally, we've got some very unique housing stock here as well. Beautiful, characterful housing stock. You're going to see in a little while a few quick examples. And the one that I've highlighted here is a converted building at the wharf on the northern fringes of the town. And the wharf is where all the canal boats on the extensive UK canal network, they all rest there. And they've converted lots of beautiful old sort of warehouse style buildings into residences. Next slide, please. So there you go. That's one of the examples. That's at the wharf. It's a converted old tower. So it's actually a 3.5, 4-story house. You can see there that it was priced at about 550,000 UK pounds. If we move on to the next slide, we'll just see a couple more examples of local housing stock. I'll talk a little bit about Great Bowden Village shortly. It's one of the sort of key areas in this neck of the woods. And here is a modern detached house. We call them new builds. It's actually about 8 years old, but it's a 4-bedroom detached house, again, on a very family-friendly estate, and within walking distance of not only the village itself and all its facilities, but also the town itself and the train station, priced at 615,000. Next slide, please. So into the villages, of course, I've talked about the town itself, but the villages are beautiful, very quintessential English. They've got lots of lovely character properties there that are old, dating back hundreds of years. These properties typically, of course, benefit from good outside space, gardens, mature parkland areas, and of course, referred to earlier, the walks that are plentiful in this neck of the woods. Next slide, please. Just another example here. We have a village called Ashley, beautiful village, maybe about 10 minutes in the car drive from Market Harborough, the town itself. It's grade 2 listed character cottage. And the price for this one's quite a large cottage. It's got a lovely big garden, 730,000. And if we can move on to the next slide, that's just another view of the same house from the rear there. Beautiful terrace and a lovely oak framed garden room extension on the back of it. Next slide, please. Finally, just to give you an idea of a bit of different housing stock, this is back into Great Bowden Village again, and it's a beautiful old house that's been converted into 9 separate apartments and some mews houses. So here you've got everything from 1-bedroom apartments through to 2- and 3-bedroom larger apartments and mews houses. Next slide, please. So prices. we've got everything really ranging. I mean, you could go underneath the bottom figure I've given there of 200,000, but really if you started to look at sort of, smaller sort of 2-bedroom Victorian terrace houses in the town, anything from about £200,000 upwards. And then, of course, as you get larger, 3 and 4 bedroom homes, anything from about 300,000 if you were looking at terrace houses in the town itself, maybe towards the southern end. And then through, as you move through the town and to the northern side, up to about maybe 550, 600,000 pounds for some of those nice family friendly detached houses, 4, 5 and even 6 bedrooms sometimes, that I referred to earlier. And then, of course, we've still got some much larger bespoke detached houses in the town, which would go anything from 600,000 and beyond. There's a beautiful house priced at just under 1 million at the moment, on a sort of very prestigious road here in the town itself. And then, of course, we move to the villages again. So next slide, please. I've highlighted, as I mentioned before, one specific village here, as I say, Great Bowden. It's separate from the town, yet is still walkable to the station and all the town's amenities. So the beauty of it is you live in a unique, quintessentially English village. And at the heart of that village, you've got village greens with character houses all around. You've got a few facilities, so you've got a post office and a deli and a tea room and a beautiful coffee store, Bowden Stores there, and 2 public houses as well for eating and socialising. Next slide, please. The village itself also, it should be pointed out, has an Ofsted rated outstanding academy school, primary, for children aged 4 to 11 years. And that, of course, is a state sector school, of which there are many which are also fantastic. And beyond that, as I mentioned before, there are plenty of other beautiful, lovely villages, and the prices then tend to be based on having a premium in terms of their proximity to the town itself, to the station, their amenities and the quality of the housing stock there. Next slide, please. So in summary, really, I moved my family here, as I said at the beginning, 12 years ago, have never looked back. It's a wonderful part of the country to live in. We still feel incredibly connected to London, the capital, and we've just got fantastic quality housing stock. You have a wonderful quality of life, lots of outside space. The schooling options are incredible. I have 3 children all at different schools at the moment, all of which we are incredibly happy with. It's got a thriving sports and cultural scene, and I'll reiterate, we are less than 1 hour from the capital. So thank you very much for listening. I hope that was just a little bit of an insight into the local area. And I'd like to now hand over to Giles Williams.
Thanks, Andrew. And good evening to the guys who are joining us in Hong Kong, and good morning from Market Harbour here in the UK. Lei Ho, Ni Hao. And I wanted to start just by highlighting that the historic announcement that the UK Prime Minister made in relation to B&O passport holders and the people of Hong Kong obviously provided wonderful opportunity for the people from Hong Kong to come and establish a new life, a happy life, and here in the UK. But also here in the UK, we anticipated and we imagined that might be quite a daunting prospect. And just to give you some context, when I finished university, I lived in Taiwan for 1.5 years. My wife is from Shanghai. We have 2 children. So we've been through, well, my wife has certainly been through a similar process in terms of relocation. And we're now happily established here in the East Midlands. So what we wanted to do today was, via this webinar, was to try and help maybe appease and assuage some of those doubts or fears by getting together a panel of experts who could offer guidance, reassurance, and make you aware of the opportunities that were available in moving over here to the UK. I guess the most important things, naturally, when it comes to families, are going to be your money and going to be your children. So we therefore assembled people who could advise on real estate investment, other investment, and also an opportunity to hear from the admissions and leadership of a couple of the best schools in our area. I'm delighted that Mr. Dobson from Stonygate School was able to join us, and Joe York from Stamford School were able to join us. Stonygate School is where I went to and where my two children currently are, so I guess that probably speaks volumes for the regard in which I hold the school. And Stamford School needs no introduction. It's one of the finest schools in the UK. So what we wanted to do was assemble people who could hopefully give some insight into the opportunities that are available here, in both financially and for the future of the next generation here in the UK, but more specifically here in our area. And I guess when a lot of people think about the UK, they think about London. However, there is a lot of the UK outside London, and London property prices can be high, schooling fees can be high. So we wanted to make you aware of the opportunities that exist in our area, commercially and educationally. Just to tell you a little bit about my college, if we can move on to the next slide. My college was an enterprise that was founded by my father in 1967. As an institution which could cater for children from all over the world. We currently have 300 children from 61 nationalities, 61 different countries, who are all preparing to go to university here in the UK. 90% of our children are boarding, so they live in the school, study in the school, sleep in the school. And we are based, as a lot of schools which have grown up historically over time in the UK, we're based throughout Market Harborough, throughout our town. So we have different teaching buildings, boarding accommodation, all within the town of Market Harborough. Market Harborough has a population of 25,000. It's a very small, safe environment, and was recently voted one of the most desirable places to live in the UK. So the town's got a lot to commend it in terms of security and in terms of safety. And we believe that Market Harborough is an integral part of the community. We're proud of the way our British colleagues and townsfolk have over the years welcomed students from all over the world to Market Harborough. And it's nice for me when I hear from alumni and colleagues who've lived and studied in Market Harborough. They hold the place with great affection, and we have lots of alumni who come back to visit us every year, many of whom have moved back to their native lands, many of which have stayed in the UK for work. But our little corner of Leicestershire, our little market town, it still seems to hold a great affection in their heart. So if I can move on to the next slide, I'll just tell you a little bit more about our school. We accept students from the age of 11 to 19. And we welcome children into full academic programs from Key Stage 3 all the way up to University Foundation. We do have an EFL department which specialises in preparing children in terms of improving their English. So hailing from Hong Kong, if your children have not maybe been schooled in the English medium, we can help to improve their English as quickly as possible, to allow them to access the wider elements of the curriculum. The sort of the kite mark, benchmark, I suppose, of English language proficiency is the IELTS examination, and we offer specialist preparation classes for children before they embark on a university career, in ensuring that they achieve the required IELTS grade that they would need. If we move on to the next slide, you can see the academic value that the school can add and the academic excellence that the school can offer. All three of the schools represented here today have all got strong academic backgrounds, and they all offer something different. So that was the raison d'etre really for putting together what we've done. From junior school through to senior school. But the core thing that binds us all together is a commitment to academic excellence, a commitment to adding value, and a commitment to developing your child's independence, resilience, core values for life, really. There's just an example there of some of the universities that children have gone to Brooke House, who've gone from Brooke House, have graduated it's funny that we tend to see a preponderance of children who have moved on to universities within about an hour or an hour and a half's drive of Market Harborough. So it certainly seems that once people arrive in the UK and they do settle in Market Harborough, they feel very comfortable accessing universities such as Leicester, Nottingham, Sheffield, Birmingham, Aston, as well as obviously Oxford and Cambridge, which are all within an hour's drive, if that's the direction that they wish to go down. So obviously people, they do find, as Sabrina was saying, a home away from home in terms of once they arrive here and their children are in school here, they often choose to remain here for the next stage of their education as well. You can see the excellent GCSE pass rates and the A-level pass rates and the Oxbridge entries that we've had in the last few years. But really, I would reassure you that all of the schools that are represented here today will offer an excellent education for your children. If we can move on to the next slide. At Brooke House, our curricula on the co-curricular extracurricular side of things, football is a speciality that that we offer here at Brooke House. We actually initiated a football program here at the school in 2006. It's about 15 years ago. Sorry. Just to give you an example of the high levels of compliance that we operate here in England, that was actually our weekly fire alarm test, which was being done by the maintenance department. So apologies for any interruption there. The Football Academy programme has gone from strength to strength. Last year, we had 15 players who actually signed having here in Market Harborough. The boys train every day when they finish school. I know that Hong Kong is a hotbed of football and a hotbed of football interest, and Hong Kongers tend to have their own preferred Premier League team. Obviously, I hope it's Leicester, but I appreciate that some of it may not be. But you can see there that our children, upon finishing the football programme, have been in a position where they can either progress to professional contracts in the UK, professional contracts in Europe, professional contracts all over the world, or alternatively go on to university and play football at a high level while studying an undergraduate degree, or in certain cases they can apply for entry into US soccer programs, and financial funding is available in some degree of abundance there. So just to highlight a couple of success stories, if we move on to the next slide, you can see three young men who I've been lucky enough to spend some time with. Three boys from Hong Kong who've come to Brooke House, experienced the academic value that we've added. And so on the left is Mark Tan, well, Mark as I would know him, who now plays in the Chinese Super League for Guangzhou RNF. He also plays for the Hong Kong international team. In the middle is Jackie Leung, tall central defender, who earlier at the end of last year became the most valuable Hong Kong footballer ever transferred. He was transferred to a Chinese Super League team for over £2 million. So I'm looking forward to him buying me dinner next time I manage to make it over to Hong Kong or the mainland. And on the right is Law Chun Ting, who plays in the Hong Kong Premier League with Pegasus FC. They were all children who came to us for GCSEs and A-levels, and then on completing A-levels, despite actually obtaining very, very high grades, they chose to pursue paths in professional football, and they've gone on to represent their country and to play international matches. Mark Tan has scored for Hong Kong, and I know from speaking to him and his family that playing for his national team has brought immense pride, immense joy, as probably only one can feel when one represents one's country in a major international sporting tournament. So to summarise, here at Brooke House, we offer co-educational boarding and day education, children from 11 to 19, high academic standards of achievement and attainment, and a extremely popular extracurricular, co-curricular program which specialises in football. So a little introduction from Brooke House, but hopefully a wider introduction to the benefits, as Andrew's already outlined, of coming and spending time and establishing life here in the East Midlands. We appreciate it's daunting. That's why we've got experts in terms of lifestyle with Sabrina, experts in terms of property with Andrew, experts in terms of finance with Noman, and experts in terms of the legal aspects of relocation with our colleagues at Elthorns. So I hope you enjoy the rest of the presentation. Thank you for your attention, and hopefully I may see you here in the East Midlands. Thank you very much. I will now pass on to my good friend and colleague, Jo York from Stamford School.
Thank you, Giles. Thank you. So thank you, Giles, and thank you, Brooke House, for inviting me today. Oh, can we go on to the next slide, please, Lee? And actually probably quite quickly to the next one. Oh. Am I okay to keep talking? Okay, so I'm Jo, Head of Admissions here at Stamford Endowed Schools. So we're day and boarding schools for pupils from 2 to 18 years old, based in Stamford, which is South Lincolnshire and not far from Brooke House in Leicestershire. Fab. We just go there. Perfect, with that slide there. So really, this is the slide. Oh, if we can just go to the side of the cricket pitch for a moment. Because I want to talk about that, thank you. I don't want to, if we can just stay on this, I just want to reference, this is one of my favourite pictures of the school, because I feel that in the top right, you've got our sports centre, which has one of our swimming pools, basketball, badminton, squash courts, fitness suite, and some of our classrooms for those that are studying sport. And then to the left, we have the cricket pavilion, with its traditional white walls and thatched roof, which for me, this picture embraces everything we have as a school, with tradition, as well as meeting the needs of a 21st century school, with the sports centre in the top left of the picture there. Next slide, please. Okay, so I'd like to share some of our history, but I don't want to get caught up in the history of education in general here in the UK in the 16th century, because it can get quite messy. The schools were established in 1532 and survived the turbulent 1500s, thanks in no small part to one of our early students, William Cecil, becoming chief advisor to Elizabeth I. This meant that William Cecil was able to secure an Act of Parliament to protect his former school, Stamford, and his former university, Cambridge, along with some other prestigious institutions, including Eton College and the University of Oxford, from Protestant reformers. As you can imagine, the schools were an integral part of Stamford town, having grown up and changed with the community together. Originally, Stamford only educated boys, as girls were not educated at all in the 1500s, which is unthinkable now in the 21st century. It does, however, help explain our structure. As you can see in the slide, we're a diamond school, which means that we educate our junior pupils together. So pupils from the age of 2 to 11 are educated in a co-educational environment at our nursery and junior school. From the ages of 11 to 16, girls study at Stamford High and boys study at Stamford School. Although the main sites for both schools are separate, we do share facilities. And then the sixth form pupils study together again in co-educational lessons across both sites. Overall, the school and the town work collaboratively together on many projects, and the school supports various local businesses with a Shop Stamford card and the Shop Stamford initiative, partnering with over 100 local businesses with a Shop Local motto. Finally, before I move on, I'd like to mention that Stamford was voted the best place to live in the UK by the Times newspaper in 2019. Can I have the next slide, please? In total, we're a big school of over 1,600 pupils, and this is spread across our diamond model in a rough split of 400 juniors, 400 girls, 11 to 16, 400 boys, 11 to 16, and 400 in our sixth form. So this means despite the overall size, the pupils are only ever in a group of roughly 400. So in my opinion, you don't get that big school feeling when you're here. It is very much a smaller school supported by a bigger school. As I mentioned, we're a day and boarding school with 90% of our pupils attending as day pupils. And as a town centre school, this means that our boarders are not left to rattle around in the evenings and weekends. There are over 400 clubs and activities, meaning that our pupils are on site in the evenings and weekends, whether they're day pupils or boarders. As we also offer a range of boarding options, including day boarding. I know this sounds confusing, but this is basically for day pupils who may want to come in early and have breakfast with the boarders, or stay late and do prep and have dinner with our boarders before they go home. Flexi boarding, which again is for day pupils that might want to stay with us from time to time. 4, 5 night boarding and full boarding. So there are various options if you don't want to be a full boarder. 95% of our pupils are British, and the 5% international come from 24 countries. We have international day pupils as well as international boarders, but our international day pupils have travelled on separate visas which don't relate to the school. For example, parent work visas, or in this case, BNO visas. We do have a reasonable size boarding cohort of 165 pupils. These pupils will live in one of our 7 boarding houses, and unlike some schools, our boarding houses are structured by age. We also have a day house system, like in Harry Potter. It is separate to the boarding houses and means that when pupils move through the boarding, if a pupil joins our 6th form as a boarder, they will be moving into a new house, even with those that have boarded with us since they were 8 years old. Our GCSEs are taught over 2 years, and we offer 18 subjects, and pupils usually choose 9. We offer 27 A-level subjects and 2 BTECs. Pupils usually choose 3 A-levels or 1 BTEC and an A-level. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, we're a big school and we're based in the grammar school region. As Andrew mentioned previously, this means that there are some really good state schools. And this means for us, there's a lot of pressure from high-performing academic state provision. But we have more than 1,500 British day pupils choosing Stamford. Why? Because we offer opportunity, individuality and support, as well as amazing facilities and staff. As you can see, I put some photos on there, but there's a wide range of facilities. Stamfordians are being prepared for the boardroom of their future, wherever they choose that to be. For example, we have pupils leaving to go to university to become doctors and lawyers, but we equally have pupils that want to, for example, become a Norland nanny, which is quite a selective process. And we supported 3 pupils through that process last year. I think this is more down to the Royals having Norland nannies being in the press. Drama venue, we have various drama venues, seating between 70 and 400, plus 2 black box studios with lighting, sound, etc. So pupils can practice performances and even film performances without it being on the stage. All pupils that attend our junior school learn 1 string instrument and have the opportunity to learn various other instruments, making use of our over 40 music practice rooms. Next slide, please. So in summary, that's what we have to offer here at Stamford. If you'd like any more information, please don't hesitate to contact me, visit our website and contact us through there if you'd rather. Thank you. Okay, I'd like to now hand over to John Dobson at the headmaster of Stonygate School.
As Carolyn mentioned, my name is John Dobson. I am the headmaster of LGS Stonygate. LGS stands for Leicester Grammar School. I'll explain that in a bit more detail later. I have lived and taught abroad. I've also taught in boarding schools and in leading London independent schools. Thank you. Next slide, please. So for over 150 years, Stonygate has been privately owned by families and was based in the heart of Leicester. However, at the turn of this century, the then owners moved out of Leicester and they came to a small village just outside Leicester. It is a beautiful campus in glorious countryside. Another momentous occasion in Stonygate's history came 5 years ago when the Leicester Grammar School Trust bought the school. I've been head since then. We try to maintain as much of the school's charm as possible, but we've also brought in some changes. We have extended the age range, so we now have pupils from reception all the way through to year 11, which is age 16. We've also started an extensive investment program. Again, I'll talk more about that later. If you go to the next slide, please. So here is an aerial shot showing some of our buildings. We often talk about Stonygate as being a place to grow. I think this phrase not only encapsulates the pupil's ability to grow in knowledge and understanding, but also a physical one. There literally is space to play, to explore, to climb trees, to play sports, to ride a bike. Thank you. Next slide, please. So I mentioned we've embarked on a long-term investment program at LGS Stonygate. In my first 2 years as head, we predominantly targeted IT, which I thought is crucial. But as a headmaster, I think what is important is that we do get the right balance of traditional and technological methodology. Ultimately, we don't want students from LGS Stonygate to become lazy. We want them to think for themselves. We want them to be original. If you read the characteristics of leading business leaders in the UK, one of the main aspects of their desire for young people to have is to have creative, original thinkers. We have high expectations for all our pupils and for all our staff. And I'll come to our ethos in a minute. But that goes from, as I said, every pupil to head groundsman, to the head of science, to the headmaster. We need to be ambitious and set high expectations. We are currently in the midst of what we call Project 21, which, as I've mentioned here, is an exciting building project that will deliver some new buildings to go alongside our very old traditional buildings. Thank you. Next slide, please. I think what's important is that schools keep to their ethos. And our LGS community know that we do stand by our 4 C's. I could talk for an awful lot about our 4 C's, but I'd just like to briefly mention that being caring is not some vague concept. It's an important human characteristic. Pupils and staff need to be thoughtful. They need to be caring. It is crucial that we look after each other and our surroundings. 2 years ago, my student council said that we were eating too much meat on the planet. As a result, we've joined numerous colleges and workplaces, and we did introduce Meat-Free Monday. So if you're expecting a burger on a Monday, you'll be sadly disappointed. As mentioned earlier, we want our pupils to be inquisitive. Although the world's answers appear to be a click away, it's imperative that we create pupils that breed curiosity. Pupils have got to ask why certain things are, why certain things happen. For us as a school, creativity does not end in the music department or the art department or the textiles department or in drama. Staff and pupils are encouraged to be creative in every aspect of the curriculum, and that includes mathematics. Ultimately, staff and pupils need to show commitment. Resilience at LGS Stonygate is not about whether or not a child can run around our glorious fields without stopping. Being committed and being resilient means to not give in whilst learning the violin, to not give in if you're losing at a sporting fixture, but to keep going, to show that commitment and enjoyment to learning. Thank you. Next slide, please. LGS Stonygate is a small school, and I want it to be a small school. We have grown in recent years, but there is a number, a cap that I want to keep to. As headmaster, I want to know every single pupil. Pre-coronavirus, I would shake hands with all my pupils and greet them a good morning. There is often a misconception that small schools are not ambitious. We are very ambitious with regards to our buildings, with regards to our attitude, with regards to our work. And in Project 21, we will be looking to build a new food tech room that will be open this September. We'll be looking to develop some of our sports pitches. And by September 22, we'll be looking forward to our new sports hall. We are very lucky to teach and learn at LGS Stonygate. If you'd like more information, do look at our website, and I'd be delighted to talk to you in person via a Teams call. But again, could I thank Brooke House College for inviting me to talk this morning. I would just end with, yes, do look at the East Midlands. I too used to live in London, but I came up here with my two children 18 years ago. And like everyone else, it is a beautiful, safe, wonderful area to come with your children. So I can only thoroughly recommend that. I would also say that take away bricks and buildings. The most important aspect of any school is the relationship between the teacher and the pupil. Thank you very much for listening. I'm now going to hand over to Noman. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Good morning, everyone in the UK. and evening audience in Hong Kong. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Noman Sahel, and I am a qualified mortgage and protection advisor in London and a director of my company, Noms Financial Solution. We are based in London and are fully authorized and regulated by Financial Conduct Authority to advise on mortgages and other financial related products. We advise on the mortgage to UK-based client as well as expat and international foreign national who are looking to move or have a base in UK. We can arrange finance for non-residents client who may have no credit history or have no sufficient active credit in the UK and have non-UK based source of income. We can assess first-time buyer along with people already owning property in the UK. For example, client looking to move to a new home. All of our client applications are assessed on case-by-case basis from our experienced mortgage advisor and myself, and they have widely experience in the complicated field of international lending. We can assess with both residential mortgages as well as buy-to-let and commercial purchases. We source all our products from the whole market and we are not tied into any lender. So we can advise on to the mortgages from whole market. Next slide, please. We arrange finance for our client on the following type of scenario, which are buy to live, which people are looking to buy and looking to move in, and for their family member to share. And the other one is buy to let, where you're looking to buy to generate extra income. Let me explain the difference between buy to live and buy to let. We are able to assess client working in the UK who require a base here, earning in different currency. Most lenders accept income in dollars, euro, and income from overseas. UK resident who work abroad, which we call expat, but still need a family or a holiday home in the UK. We also advise foreign national, overseas national looking for a second home for their family. Now, for buy to let, we are able to assess client working in the UK on any type of visa who are looking to purchase an investment property, or overseas who are looking to buy a property for investment purposes, either working in the UK or working abroad to looking to invest in the UK. Foreign national overseas client looking to invest in the UK market, as well as client based in the UK and working for a foreign national companies. Next slide, please. Client from outside UK, which we call it cross-border, advising to cross-border overseas client, a key consideration is the key of lending is the residency of the client currently living. This is a country where the client currently living and working, even in the case of short-term secondment. Our ability to advise in a specific country at any time can be subject to various different factors, such as legalization, regulation in the country, political or economic factor, and bank risk appetite. When advising on client from the high-risk country, we have duty to do our due diligence before we start the process. The word overseas refers to customer who are resident or based outside of United Kingdom. The following list of countries in one of the slides and some other countries where our client may reside and we can potentially support providing lending advising to client resident in these countries is not static and can be subject to regulatory change. The changes can be regulatory or changes from the lending criteria. Next slide, please. Overseas and international client. We have been advising and arranging finance for our client on buy-to-let and residential purchases, and successfully from several years have completed enormous deals on the client from the below countries, which is from America, Europe, Middle East, and other parts of Asia, including China, Hong Kong, and Singapore. Next slide, please. We have two products which we advise and arrange for our client, either for UK-based or international client. The first one which I like to go through is example for a minimum and maximum loan for the value of property which they're looking to live, which we call a buy-to-live. Buy-to-live, low registration mortgage, minimum loan start from 75,000. However, is subject to lending criteria and in lender-to-lender basis. We currently looking at the trend of residential mortgages for foreign national or international client between 75% to 80%. However, there is restrictions on the new build properties. On the apartment, the lenders are happy to lend as much as 75% maximum loan to value. Loan to value is how much the value of the property. From there, they lend you as much as 75. In some of the cases for new build houses, which is built within 4 years, can be maximum as much as 80%. There's a certain different kind of repayment method on the mortgages. One is the main one on which only implement on buy to live, which is residential mortgages. It has to be on repayment interest only basis. The loan amount start from 75% as much as 200,000 and go as much as 3 million pound of the lending. It all depends on what client are looking for, where the property is, and the circumstances of the client. The next one is for us is going for a buy to let, which is the most lender allow. I like to just explain a bit more about buy to let repayment method. Buy to repayment method, mostly lender allow to take interest only option, subject that we have repayment plan in place to pay the mortgage off in the end of the mortgage term. Some of the lenders are allowing clients to take more than 65% lending on a new build, which depends on the rental received from the property and the location. There is a slide here. The loan amount on a buy-to-let start from 100,000 to £1 million. You can range in a 2 different repayment. Either you can choose interest only or repayment with the capital. The maximum lending for tend to have mostly lender allow is 75% on buy-to-let and 65% on new build flat. On any lending more than £1 million to a 3.5 million is a cap to 70 to 65%. This is the last thing. I just want to add something else. There's a new build properties are going in the UK, and the lenders are changing a regularly basis. Now, thank you for listening, and I would like to hand you over to Mr. Pinada and Ms. Fatima. Bye for now.
Are we on? Good evening to Hong Kong and good morning to London. My name is Tej. I'm a solicitor practicing in the UK. That's my colleague Eliza. We are from Elthorn Solicitors. We are both practicing solicitors, and we specialize in UK immigration and nationality laws, and we advise clients from overseas who are coming into the UK to invest or to live, or to study, for all aspects of immigration coming into the UK. Today, we are going to concentrate on the British National Overseas Citizens Visa, specifically to the Hong Kong nationals, with the new changes in the laws and the response, the UK response to that. Can I have the next slide, please? Thank you. Could I? Yeah. Yes. Now, basically, in October 2020, the UK government announced some concession for the Hong Kong nationals to come into the UK on what you call the BNO, the British National Overseas Citizens Visa. So this is specifically for the Hong Kong nationals, and we will go through an overview of the whole visa. We're not going to bombard you with all information and statistics and so forth, but just the crux of and then the important aspects that you have to follow, and also to check your eligibility. So we will go through the slides and discuss each issue. Next slide, please. Who is eligible for BNO visa? So it has to be a Hong Kong national living in Hong Kong at the moment, or a Hong Kong national who is in the UK, either studying or on a work permit and so forth. So it is important. For instance, if a Hong Kong national is elsewhere in another country, residing in another country, working in another country is a different matter. But if they are residing and permanently living in another country, they will not qualify for it. So it is important that you, first of all, check your eligibility. So as I said in the slide, so if you are a person who's over the age of 24 years, you perhaps would qualify for this. So even if you do not have a BNO passport, a British national overseas passport, you still are eligible to make an application on this visa. Next slide, please. So who is eligible? If you are eligible to apply for this, then you will be the main applicant. Then within your application, obviously, your dependents are allowed to come to the UK as well. Now, who are the dependents is a crucial point, because it's not anyone in your household. So obviously your immediate partner, so that would be your husband or your wife, and children who are below 18 years, or if you're not married, your partner can come with you, provided that you could establish that the partner has been living with you for 2 consecutive years. So that is important. Now, what is important is therefore to establish that your cohabiting partner has resided. It's not even just a relationship, but you have to show that you have lived together to show that you know that the person is your current partner. Next slide, please. Now, as I've discussed in the previous slide, so your partner could be from your own partner, heterosexual partnership, or a same-sex partner. So it doesn't matter. And also, it has to be, if you're going through the marriage route, then you have to show that you are married in a civil registry, which is accepted in the UK law as a married couple. If not, you will have to rely on the 2-year living together, cohabiting together route. Next slide, please. So if your children are under 18, they will qualify under your application to come in as dependents. Now, what is important is that your children or your partner's children, for instance, if you have children of your partner from a different marriage, they also are eligible. However, they all have to apply together. I will discuss that in a couple of other slides, forthcoming slides. Now, if grandchildren are applying, then you have to first see the eligibility of their parents being eligible first of all. So if they don't qualify, if the parents don't qualify, then you can add to your as the grandparents. And another important aspect is, if you're a single parent who has sole responsibility of the child, then there's no problem. But however, if, for instance, if you're a single parent, you have your child, and there's contact from the other parent, you would need to get consent from that other parent. So it is important, therefore, getting all these aspects in order before you make that application. These applications are not automatic. You have to make the application, and the Home Office uses their discretion on many occasions when it's not within the cut and dry rules. So you've got to kind of fit into the eligibility criteria. Next slide, please. Now, this is interesting because it's the eligibility does not stop at the immediate family. It can be the extended family. However, what is important is the dependency rule is important. So you got to establish that the relative who is dependent on you could be eligible, but for that you got to establish that the relative is really dependent. You can't just, they won't take your word for it. You have to establish with doctors' reports and medical reports and third-party reports like the social services and so forth. So you have, this is quite a high threshold of dependency. It's not just right. Isn't it? Yeah, it's not just a mere living together arrangement. Like, for instance, if your aunt, you have looked after your aunt right throughout your life, and then for you to include your aunt in that application, you have to show certain
high degree of dependency,
very high degree of dependency. Yeah, but it's not. Although it's a high degree of dependency, it's a matter of putting the correct documentation.
There's an element of, again, flexibility, I think.
Absolutely, there is flexibility, and case by case it's different. So that's where you would need advice and guidance as to what documents to put in. Next slide, please. So basically, there are different ways of applying. I won't go into detail because it's just a protocol to follow the protocol. So there's an online application. It's essential that it's an online application. And then you have to provide your ID documents. So there are two ways to do it. There is a Home Office app that you can use, or you can get an appointment to go to a visa center in Hong Kong. And if you're in the UK, it's an online application. There are visa centers where you go for your biometric. So, and that is how. So, and another important aspect is the main applicant. So you have to decide who the main applicant is going to be, whether the father or whether it's the husband or the wife, and then the children as dependents. So whoever decides to be the main applicant, that main applicant has to make the application first initially. The dependents are not included in that application. So that's something different from any other visa application. Normally the dependents are put in one application. So in this instance, you got to first, the main applicant should make the application, and once that application is lodged, you are given a unique reference number, and then within 2 days, the dependents, and it has to be within 2 days. And so I normally advise my clients, we normally advise our clients that do it immediately after you get the unique reference number, and you apply for each dependent separately. Next slide, please. And how to apply online is basically you need your BNO passport or the HKSAR passport. Even if you don't have them, if you have any other passports and you can't, if you think you're eligible within the criteria of the 1997 cutoff, you still can apply. You don't have to have a BNO passport. So we always advise clients, if you qualify, just do it, because the Home Office, you will use their discretion and find that you are eligible. So you don't need to have a BNO passport to apply, but it helps if you do. But and also, it's an online application, so you will have to carry your passport because of the current situation in Hong Kong. I won't go into political issues here, but because of the non-acceptance of the BNO and those issues that are being faced by people, even if you don't have your BNO, and if you can't travel with your BNO, you can use other passports, but rely on the eligibility of a BNO passport. So I'm sure you understand what I'm trying to say. So you don't have to travel with your BNO passport because it's not accepted, but you could travel with any other passport. The Home Office will allow you to enter the country. Next slide, please. How long can you stay in the UK? Well, you can stay here for 2.5 years. So that's 30 months, that is. So that's the extension. So when you apply, you can ask for 2.5 years, or you can straight away ask for 5 years. So the only difference is the application fee is less for the 2.5. In fact, I think the application fee for 2.5 is £180 per person, and 250 for 5 years per person. So if you are a bigger family, you would want to go for 2.5 years first to start with, and also sometimes you would want to come to the UK and see whether you like or not. Yeah, and so then you extend it after 30 months. The option is yours. I would always advise clients to go for, if the affordability factor is fine, then we go for the 5 years, and so you can extend it. If it's 2.5, you still can extend it. Next slide, please. Post 5 years, I mean, this is the fantastic news is that this does lead to actual citizenship in the UK, and so it's a very short period of time that you can actually apply to become a British citizen. So how it works is, you complete your 5 years. Of course, you have to be eligible within the 5 years. You fulfill the criteria, and so once you fulfill the criteria and you complete 5 years in the UK, continuously showing that UK has been your residence for the 5 years, and that includes your dependents and whoever came with you. And then at the end of the 5th year, you apply for residence settlement visa, which is the indefinite leave to remain. And once you receive indefinite leave to remain, you live in the UK for a further 1 year. So altogether 6 years. At the end of the 6th year, you can apply. Once you get your indefinite leave to remain, after 12 months, you can, if you wish to, you can apply for British citizenship. It's not compulsory. It's up to you. You can stop at indefinite leave to remain, or you can even extend for another 30 months. You don't have to go for indefinite leave to remain. But on the 6th year, you can apply for your naturalization. Next slide, please. That's 4 or 5 years, isn't it? Yeah, sorry, that was my last slide. If there are any questions, we are happy to answer. You can email us, or call us, or text us, WhatsApp. We are quite flexible. And thank you very much for Brooke House giving this opportunity to talk to you. And I'm sure there are a lot of questions you would want to clarify, and Eliza and I are happy to be with you today.
Thank you.
And thank you very much. So I'm going to pass back on to Giles to do the closing remarks. Thank you.
Well, a big thank you to all of our participants this morning, and a big thank you to those of you who've taken the time to enjoy the presentations that we have put together. Just in closing, I thought that the phrase that Mr. Dobson from Stonygate, LGS Stonygate School used in terms of room to grow was a very apt one for what we're talking about, because having been to Hong Kong many times and having many friends in Hong Kong, I think if you're looking at purchasing a 2-bedroom apartment or a 100 square meter apartment in Happy Valley or Causeway Bay or Mong Kok or Sha Tin, then you could probably understand the attractions of of being able to purchase for the same price as that smallish apartment in Hong Kong, a beautiful family home here in the UK with access to excellent schooling. And therefore, there is room to grow here in the UK, and there's room for you to grow as a family and for your children to grow in a secure environment. Some of you will undoubtedly have concerns about the pandemic and how that might affect your decision. What I can say is that the UK's future seems a bright one as things stand, with the success of the vaccination programme. In schools currently, the children are tested 3 times a week. Us as staff are tested 3 times a week. Indeed, my colleague has just bought for me my testing kit for today, which I'll be getting on with as soon as the presentation finishes. So we are offering a safe, secure environment here in the UK with plenty of room to grow as a family with a supportive schooling structure in place. And the property side of the investment and the possible financial implications, I think, are positive. So overall, I hope that you can give some thought to some of the issues that have been touched upon. Undoubtedly, this is a huge decision for oneself, for one's family, and it's inevitable that this webinar was never going to be a definitive, here's all you need to know about uprooting one's family and moving to a new country. So everybody will have queries. We understand that, we appreciate that. But I just wanted to stress that everybody who's been involved today is A, an expert in their field, and B, from my personal experience, very giving of their time and very generous with their time, and are essentially will be helpful, approachable, and will be able to offer you good guidance going forward. So on the screen, you can see the contacts. If you're interested in schooling, please do drop Joe or John Dobson a line. Please feel free to contact me. Andrew, in terms of the property side of relocation, Noman in terms of the financial implications of relocation, the guys at Elthorns, Tej and his team in terms of the legal side of relocation, and perhaps as a sounding board and as a source of inspiration as well as information, it would be a good idea to make contact with Sabrina Wong, who's been in those shoes and who's made that journey herself, and who obviously speaks from personal experience about the journey that this type of plan involves. But finally, I would say that journeys are exciting, and we are all missing journeys at the minute. Myself, I went through I think the last 4 months before lockdown, the lockdown of 2020, I think I was in China every month during that period as we were establishing a franchise school in China. So I went from traveling probably about 15,000 miles a month to not traveling very far at all. So journeys are exciting. We miss journeys, but I hope you will have the confidence to make this journey with us. So that's it from Market Harborough. Thanks for your time, and I hope you have a pleasant evening. Thank you.